Talamasca, one episode. Okay, everybody, what's up, horror fans? Pete here from the Lasser Cast, where me and my friend Danny, I noticed if I point this way, it actually works the right way. Dr. Zayas,
Yeah.
G-O-D, Torkel, we discuss horror movies and streaming shows. It is time to talk about the Talamasca. What is it called? Like the Secret Order or something like
The
that?
Secret Order, yes.
Yes. Time to dive into another generic bland Anne Rice adaptation that's in the same universe as the amazing Interview with the Vampire. You ready to dig in for episode 1, Danny?
Well, I guess you just gave your opinion right off the bat. I am ready to go. I did not find this as generic and bland as you did. Um, you also watched the second episode though. I did not. Weirdly, I watched the first episode of this on Shudder, and then I recorded the second episode on my DirecTV Now DVR, and then the last couple nights I've just gotten home and like passed out. It's been a rough few weeks. Not for any bad reason, just because I've been busy. I've been going to the gym after work. But yeah, the first episode of this show, I didn't dislike at all. I kind of got into it a little bit, and I thought it was a little intriguing. I can see where the first episode does feel very kind of first episode-y in the way
Yeah.
that it's there's a lot of world building to the point where it does feel a little slow and kind of, you know, one thing leads directly to another,
Yeah.
almost in a way that doesn't feel very natural. But I don't think we should go into this series expecting the highs of Interview with the Vampire. Interview with the Vampire, um, seasons 1 and 2. Uh, Frankly, because what makes that show so awesome is the characters and the cast.
Right.
And uh this, Talamasca, the Secret Order, is not going to have Lestat and Louis and Armand. Uh, it's going to have some crossover. Obviously, Daniel is there. Um, Eric Bogosian's character, Daniel Malloy, who's now a vampire. Uh,
Right.
but yeah, I went into this kind of, I guess, with an open mind, and for the first episode, I'm interested to see where it goes. I will tell you one scene that I particularly loved and thought
Okay.
was genuinely great, and maybe you can predict. What do you think of the one piece of this episode that I thought was absolutely perfect and on point?
I don't know. Maybe it's the scene with William Fichtner, because just William Fichtner is William Fichtner, and I fucking love him.
I do
I'm
love
guessing
William
so.
Fichtner. William Fichtner does get to have the greatest line in movie history. He gets to say he's got space dementia in Armageddon. It's
Right.
actually
Great.
not that scene.
Okay.
It's the Jason Schwartzman scene,
Oh, okay,
um,
okay, okay. I actually forgot about
where
that. Yeah.
we are introduced to this like penthouse living vampire, and the
Right.
main character, doesn't believe in vampires. And Elizabeth McGovern has a really good line where she goes, "Nobody does until you meet one."
Right.
And so she introduces him to Burton, played by Jason Schwartzman, and that happens to be what I thought was a great scene. Uh,
Yeah.
I thought Jason Schwartzman's acting in that scene was fantastic. It's crazy to feel. I feel like I've grown up with Jason Schwartzman because I saw him in the movie theater. I saw Rushmore in like 1998, 1999 when that came out, and I was 16, and he was like a little kid, and now he's like, you know, probably a year or two older than me, a couple of years older than us, and
Right.
he's just been acting for the last 27 years. But it's weird when like you remember the actors when they were younger. Like,
Yeah.
I've been watching Robert De Niro my whole life, but nobody, he was always older. But it's weird when
Yeah.
you see them as kids and now they're much older.
Right. Well, I mean, a good example of that would be Kirsten Dunst, who played Claudia in the Interview with the Vampire movie.
That's a
And
great, good one.
yeah, and kind of trying to like just bring it all back. I do like that scene with Jason Schwartzman. I actually completely forgot about it. It was really good. And I was kind of shocked when he showed up. I was like, oh, whoa, shit, he's in this? And I'm sure it's just for a brief cameo in this first episode. But the show in general, okay, you said before that the Interview with the Vampire works because of the cast and the characters. And I completely agree. But as I was watching the show and I was talking about it with some people I know, I was saying how it's all in the choices that filmmakers make, what they choose to focus on, right? And in this episode, you get introduced to this guy named Guy, of all things, right? We see him go to a job interview, and it's basically for him to demonstrate his powers, right? But that scene just kind of goes on a little too long. It's like not interesting. It's like you said there's a lot of world building in this episode, but the world building is not really interesting, right? Like it's like, okay, we're a secret order that tracks supernatural things. Okay, I get it. That's cool. I mean, we already kind of knew this from watching the shows. If you're watching this cold, like you've never seen Interview with the Vampire, read any of the books, you'd be like, what's this order? But it's like there's nothing that's like striking or suspenseful in these first two episodes. I know you watched just the first episode. It's fine. The show's fine. It's nowhere near as bad as Mayfair Witches. Okay, that was fucking horrible. Like we stopped covering that because it was just like this is so bad.
I
But
keep telling myself that I should go back and try to rewatch it. And then now that like season two is done, and I'm like, that would mean like 12 hours, 14 hours of my life. And I'm just not willing to commit that. Um, yeah, I, so like, I guess my point is if this show is going to be somewhere in the middle of Mayfair Witches and Interview with the Vampire,
yeah,
I'm okay with that, given
sure,
that we know Interview with the Vampire Lestat is coming back for season three. Um,
right,
uh, I think I also kind of went into this with a much better attitude because I and you can go on the channel and check this out. I was at New York Comic Con and they did a full panel um, for the Talamasca, and then they followed that up with a panel for Interview with the Vampire season three, the Vampire Lestat. And they had much of the same people. They had William Fichtner there. They had Nicholas Denton, who plays Guy. They had Eric Bogosian there. And then they had the showrunner and one of the writers. And it's the showrunner of Interview with the Vampire is the same showrunner for this. And like
oh,
I think overarching creator. So I'm and the crowd, it was a main stage panel, it was a packed house, the crowd was going crazy. Granted, I will admit it was mostly for the Vampire Lestat because they had the entire cast of that show, including Jacob Anderson and Sam Reed. Um but I'm very confident in that crew of
yeah.
like showrunner, executive producer, writer. So I feel like if this show is 45 minutes a week where we get a little bit of backstory, a little bit of intermingling to the vampire Lestat characters, uh, with some like, vampire stuff and some interesting stuff along the way. Uh, I'm okay with that. Like I'm not looking. I would love there to be like some blowaway stuff, and I thought in just the first episode, I thought it was. I thought like the episode as a whole was probably like for most of it was probably about a 6 to 6.5, but it had at least one scene for me, maybe two scenes for me, because you were right. I do like the William Fichtner stuff. But it had at least one scene for me that was in the 9 to 10 range. And if that's the show that this is going to be, I'm kind of cool for that ride. We
Yeah.
just finished covering Alien Earth, where there were some episodes of that where we would come on here with Brian and we would be raving like, "Oh my god, that was the best thing we've seen in the alien world since Aliens in 1986." I
Right.
I don't I don't think this is the type of show where we're going to be doing that. Like this is the best vampires, or this is the best what do you call it? Like investigations of demons and vampires that we've ever seen. This show kind of reminded me of, at least for the first episode, of like a supernatural type show,
Yeah. Yeah.
where it does kind of have a little bit of a sense of humor to it. It also has some like, as these types of shows typically do, some like family melodrama. Sam and Dean's mom was killed in the first episode, and they're raised by Bobby, and they find their dad later on, and it's like here, there's Guy has some, like his mother disappeared, but her name shows up in the book, Daniel Malloy's book, Interview with the Vampire, and we find out that maybe she's still alive. Maybe she is a vampire. Uh, and he's gonna go out and like find his mother, and that's gonna be a storyline. So
Yeah.
I I think I'm not giving it like the most glowing review. I'm basically like saying like I'm there for a mediocre season of television. But
Yes.
I thought, just from your introduction, I kind of feel like I liked the show better than you did, and I'm like more open minded to what could be coming later in the season.
Yeah, yeah, it has potential. Honestly, I liked the second episode a lot better than the first, right? So there's one character they introduced in the second episode that's like real charming. You'll get to meet her when you see it. And then there's more William Fichtner, and there's some intriguing stuff with like what he's doing. So you'll see that. Um, I think we should just kind of like break it down. There's one thing that you mentioned. You mentioned family drama, right? And something I'm noticing with these Anne Rice stories is that there's a lot of stuff that has to do with who a person's parent is, right? When we watched Mayfair Witches, um, who's the actress that she's got these amazing blue eyes and she was in Percy Jackson? She's
Alexandra Daddario.
Thank you so much. So, her character, it's like she was adopted, right? And she finds out that like her mom was actually a witch. She's from this coven in New Orleans. So it's very similar to what happens with Guy, where it's like, oh, you were adopted, you know that, but your mom is still alive, and maybe she's connected to your supernatural powers. Now, the Talamasca exists in the books, but this like exact storyline, I think, is made up for this show, right? So I don't think that like they're drawing directly from one story. Um, but I think that like that's the thing that Anne Rice has, where there's sort of like this, hidden lineage that people find out like, oh, I'm actually connected to witches, or I'm connected to someone that might have psychic powers. So there's this aspect of it, and I think it's intriguing. It adds an extra layer to things. Um, but it's just like, I mean, I was trying to think of like what really stood out that was exciting or dramatic, and it was hard to find. Like I like that there was that weird scene where William Fichtner's just like clicking away, and I guess there's like vampires in a cage, and somehow he's controlling them. Um, I really did like that scene with Barton or whatever, or Burton. Um, the main guy though, he looks a lot like Eddie Redmayne, and I feel like he's just basically like a cipher character for the audience, where it's like, okay, here's this person that doesn't know about um, all the supernatural shit, and it's just like you, and now you're being brought into this world.
That
But he does have. Go ahead.
yeah, that character, and I feel like this could be. I don't want to use the phrase fatal flaw, but that could be. And I saw this in the first episode where he does kind of have that generic um generic character for these types of shows slash movies where it's
Yeah.
like, he's an everyman with a weird power, and he's introduced to this world, right?
Right.
He's like an adult version of Harry Potter, where
Right.
he has a power that he can't really explain. The people around him, think he's a little weird, and then he's mysteriously brought into this magical world surrounded by all these fantastical creatures.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I think the way you put it, of like, there's nothing really exciting about him. So we're just kind of reacting to him, and reacting to the things that he sees and that he interacts with. Like, who are the interesting characters so far? You have Helen, played by Elizabeth McGovern. You have uh you have Burton, played by Jason Schwartzman, who's this vampire. You have Jasper, William Fichtner's character, who's another vampire. And of course, you have Daniel, who's carried over from Interview. He's the author of Interview with the Vampire. Eric Bogosian, I think, still is great. He steals every scene that he's in.
Right.
Um, and yeah, I think that, like, as an audience, we're enjoying those characters, and we're like, ooh, what is, like, okay, you have this like mysterious older woman who is like bringing him in, and then we find out that like she's actually been following him and shadowing him his entire life from the time he was a child. So she's got this like layer of mystery. She has her headquarters. She's obviously like got funds that she can disperse with. She gives him like $5,000 just for showing up to a meeting. um I liked it. I wrote down in my book, I was like, they have this nice goodwill hunting moment where they meet on a bench in the park and kind of like talk out their issues. um and then you have, obviously, the vampires who we meet. And I did like that for a show that, and I'll give the showrunners and the executive producers credit for this. If I was making a show, like, we've said, like, Interview with the Vampire was a pretty big hit for AMC, the AMC Plus. But like, do a lot of people watch the Mayfair Witches? It has a second season. Maybe it has a really good audience. We didn't particularly love it. We stopped watching it. We stopped covering it. Talamasca is not, like, there is a book. There's an Anne Rice book called The Mayfair Witches. So it has that like Interview with a Vampire. Like, oh, I'm an Anne Rice fan. I love this book. I'm gonna follow this show. There
Right.
is no book, The Talamasca. It's
Right.
a it's a weird word. It's not like a word. It's a title. It's make believe. So it's like Talamasca, the Secret Order. You have to be like a deep cut Anne Rice fan to know the Talamasca, to
Right.
know it's connected to her world.
Right.
So for them to introduce this show and not have it be like 60 minutes of like crazy vampire action, I thought was like
Right.
a bold step. Like there's that cold open we didn't speak about where a character like is downloading some files. Again, this is one of those scenes I was a little nervous from this scene because I feel like I've seen this scene a million times before.
Yeah, you have.
Where person downloads some files and then they have to run and hide the files and they're being stalked. But I thought it was shot really well, and I thought it was a really good introduction to William Fichtner's character, who we later find out is named Jasper, because you see these like what we think are vampires just like following her from afar, and then he just comes out with his clicker and they all like go after her, and she's like hidden these whatever they are away um in like a jungle gym. And so a- after that like cold open scene, then it's kind of just like you said, it's like, all right, here's this guy named Guy. He's at a job interview. He has some
Right.
psychic ability.
Right.
But it's very, it doesn't hit you over the head with the vampire stuff um
Yeah.
as much as you might think. For like you said, if you're going into this show cold, I feel like maybe I think the audience for this show, I think I'm going about this in a very long-winded way, but I feel like the audience for this show are going to end up being the hardcore, the hardest core of the hardcore Anne Rice fans. I would not expect this show to have, if we're doing like Nielsen rating discussion, the level of audience that even a Mayfair Witches has, or obviously Interview with the Vampire has. And I feel like this could be like this is really testing the power of the Anne Rice Immortal Universe for AMC. It's a third show. It's not based on a book. It's a kind of obscure title. Um, and yeah, I think it's a bold decision for the creators to kind of do it this way. But you know, I'm only one episode in, but I'm looking forward to watching episode two. And I guess like how many episodes do you know how many episodes are in the season? Did you look that up?
I don't. I think there might be 8, but I can look it up real quick. You know.
Yeah, because I
Um.
was
Go ahead.
no, because I was thinking like instead of doing um like we could do the next like couple episodes together, like episodes
Yeah.
2 or 3, and that way we by that point we'll have a much bigger picture of where this show is going. And who knows, maybe by midway through this first season we'll give it the old Mayfair Witch and say, uh-uh, not clicking. But
Yeah.
yeah, as opposed to William Fichtner, who is clicking.
Oh, there you go. Now I just looked up. There's 6 episodes, so there's not a lot to cover. I think we can
Yeah.
get through it. But it's funny, Danny. I can kind of tell by the way that you're talking. It's like you're like the lover that's giving the person the tap when they're giving the fellatio. They're like, we're good, we're good. We can wrap this up. Like, I don't think there's. I mean, there'd be more to say if there was two. If we could discuss both episodes, but I just kind of feel like there's not a lot to it. And you said this one thing where you were like, the deepest of Anne Rice fans might appreciate this, but I actually think it's the opposite. I think that people that haven't read the books but like the show, Interview with the Vampire, they might be like, oh, there's this organization that tracks them. Oh, this is that organization that like Daniel was corresponding with in season 2. So it's like
Mhm.
I think those kind of people are going to be into this instead of the people that are like fans of the books. When I posted stuff, because like we used to do reviews of the first season, me and Sherry, for season 1 of Interview with the Vampire, and that did get a lot of responses and people had things to say. Then when you and I started doing season 2, like we didn't get as many responses, but there would be still people talking about it, and they talk about the Anne Rice books. When I do those Pete on the Street things on TikTok, I get a lot of people talking about Anne Rice and Interview with the Vampire. So there's definitely a fan base, and it seems like they're very much into the books. I'm very curious to see, in general, what they think about this show. I am a huge Anne Rice fan, but I'm also, I guess, kind of a poser because I've only read like Queen of the Damned and then Tale of the Body Thief, which is the book right after Queen of the Damned. And then I did start Memnoch the Devil, which is the book after that. I did start Mayfair Witches, but I never finished it. But I love those first three books: Interview with the Vampire, Vampire Lestat, Queen of the Damned. So I mean, Vampire Lestat is one of my top five favorite books of all time. You know,
Yeah.
so these books are important to me. These characters are important to me. The world that Anne Rice created is important to me. And I think that they were kind of mining. They were like, oh, well, they kind of have this thing that's like S.H.I.E.L.D. that keeps track of the supernatural stuff. Let's make a show about that. And it's an experiment right now. We're going to see if it's a
But
compelling show or not. Go
you
ahead.
know what? You just almost accidentally made a great comparison because this feels like an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for the Anne Rice. It's like you have characters, the main characters of this show, like the protagonists, are not Avengers and like X-Men and like the cool Marvel characters with powers. They're the people who are like the agents watching over them. And
Right.
yeah, you'll get some superheroes who show up every once in a while, but like, it's more about Agent Coulson
Right.
or Guy and Helen than it is about, the vampires, the witches, the demons, the ghosts, etc. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think could this be a fun Agents of Shield type horror theme show? From the one episode I've watched, I think it can be, and it's only 6 episodes, so uh, that is an amount of episodes where I feel like good or bad, I'm willing to commit to 6 episodes.
Yes.
And I feel like we could do like maybe like episodes 2 and 3, maybe episodes 4 and 5, and then we could a final video on the finale of that season. And the Vampire Lestat, which is Interview with the Vampire season 3, starts early next year. I think January of 2026.
Okay.
So, like, as soon as this show ends, we'll be like, hopefully, we'll be like fiending, to use the slang that the kids use. I don't know if they still say that, but we'll be fiending for more uh, Anne Rice in Immortal Universe stuff.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Yeah. And so if people are fiending for more of you and me, what can they expect on our channel? Oh, spoilers. I'll tell you. What we're going to record right after this is we're going to be recording the review of the first episode of It. Welcome to
Welcome to
Derry.
Derry.
Yes, we're doing a lot of fucking we're like fingering each other tonight a lot. But like, what else on the channel besides that, Danny?
Oh, we have a ton of stuff. I just saw Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein in the theater. I gave a short review of that. Um, uh, short review. Really, really enjoyed it. It's exactly what you want and expect from a Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein adaptation. Um,
Good.
we did another awesome interview with David Weiner, the director of the In Search of Darkness documentary series. You have until, I believe, are you putting this out tomorrow?
I am.
Okay, so if you are watching this, you have until Halloween, Friday, October 31st, which this video is coming out on the 30th. So you'll have one day to go to 90shorrordoc.com and join up and sign up to get In Search of Darkness 1995 to 1999. We had another great interview with him, and I went to the Brooklyn Horror Film Festival last week, and I posted a whole bunch of Q&As and movie reviews. There was a Q&A with the director David Kittredge, who directed the documentary on John Borman and The Exorcist Part 2 called Borman and the Devil, which was fantastic. I posted a Q&A with the awesome Ernest Dickerson, the director of Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight, which celebrated its 30th anniversary. I posted a Q&A with Tina Romero, George Romero's daughter, and the cast of Queens of the Dead, which was one of the most fun movies I've seen. And I also posted a short review of the new Brian Fuller, Mads Mikkelsen movie, Dust Bunny, which was, as I described in my short review, imagine if Leon the Professional was a gateway horror movie and there was no really fucked up sexual tension between the leads. So yeah. So yeah, a lot of stuff up on the channel. If you want to go back a few weeks, I was at New York Comic Con earlier this month, and I posted a bunch of videos, including Q&As from the Talamasca and Vampire Lestat interview with the Vampire season 3.
Nice. All right. Well, then I mean, there's a whole lot of fucking content, guys. So subscribe to the channel. Make sure you give us a like, and we will just be waiting to see who gets sucked off first on this show. All right. We'll see y'all next time.